Listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Lead Well podcast. This is Brandon Holland, your host, BW Holland 32 on social media, and we are coming to you live from Newton, North Carolina today on Juneteenth. And I'm going to be honest with you, we got some heavy hitters with us today. We got a really cool episode planned for you guys. And I don't want to leave anything out, so I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves in just a second. But before we get started, I do want to give a special thanks to our sponsors. HyperX, if you are in the market for podcast equipment, if you're looking to share your story, they've got high quality equipment, headphones, microphones, anything that you need to help get your story out. And also Shackelford Leadership Institute. If you're looking to grow in your leadership like I have, that's definitely the place where you want to be. Somebody who's doing some really good coaching, helping leaders excel to different heights. So these are the people that you need to be working with if you're looking to grow in your leadership. Without further ado, we're just going to jump right into the show and ask Miss Felicia to introduce herself.
Well, thank you, Brandon. My name is Felicia Setzter. I am a native of Catawba County. I work for the Department of Commerce. I'm a 35-year state employee. I'm a regional operations director for the Northwest Prosperity Zone for Workforce Development. I also represent Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. This is my 35th year as a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha as well. I represent the Mid-Atlantic region of Alpha Kappa Alpha on the international level. I represent them on the International Nominating Committee. I'm just happy to be here. Leadership is my superpower. And so when you said leadership, that just sparked my interest. This is going to be good. I'm excited.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And what about you, Marcus? Give us a brief introduction.
My name is Reverend Marcus Williams. I am a native of Iredell County, but I've been here in Catawba County since 2006 when we moved here. Moved here to pastor a church, Greater Faith Missionary Baptist Church in Hickory, where I've been since 2003. I also am very thankful for the opportunity that has been provided. Actually filling in for our president, James Cook. But me being local, it made it a lot easier for me to come here this afternoon and to be with you. I also represent Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I'm a fall 1991 initiate, so I am 34 years in the fraternity, and it's hard to believe that that's gone by in seemingly a blink of an eye. I was initiated at the Zeta Delta chapter, which is University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Also in my role as a pastor and community activist, leadership is also something that I think is extremely important. So I'm also very happy to be able to be here today.
Fantastic. I'm glad to be connected to y'all. And I'm sad that this is the first chance that we've gotten to meet, but I'm glad that it's happening this way. To the listeners, hey, we have a couple of interns with the city of Newton, and one of the interns have prepared questions for this occasion. And so be on the lookout for a podcast episode with Will Choplin. He's a UNC student, and he has come up with the questions that we'll be asking today. And so for our first question, what is something that you've accomplished or something that you're currently proud of, and how did you overcome?
Well, I'll start. Thank you, Will, for the questions. Will's a Tar Heel, and so am I, undergraduate and graduate school. So anytime you say UNC, that again is excellence in the making. So what I'm most proud of right now are several things. As a regional operations director for the Department of Commerce, I was the first person of color to hold that position. There are 8 of us in the state. I was the first one. I also represent Catawba County on the election board. I am the only person of color, and I'm the only female on that board as well. So those are things that I'm really excited about, an accomplishment. Also, as a mother, I have 3 children that are very important to me and who are self-sufficient. And that is very important. That's an accomplishment. They can take care of themselves. How I overcome, I guess I look at what was put in front of me, the people that were there to help me, the people who encouraged me. I come from the Ridgeview community. I'm proud to be a part of the Ridgeview community. My church is there. My parents are from there. They graduated from Ridgeview High. And so I'm a proud Ridgeview Panther. So that accomplishment, the overcoming, basically is the fact that I knew that I could, so I did. That was instilled in me at Ridgeview because I attended there until the 5th grade, until they closed the school. So I guess when you say, how did I overcome? I basically overcame because there was a village behind me who was very supportive of the things that I did. They ensured that I knew that I could. So that's what I did.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. What about you, Marcus?
Well, I like to try to simplify things and, sometimes come up with key words. So to answer that question, my key word would be legacy. I think legacy is something extremely important. I know it's something that's important to Felicia because it's something that we share, that we both have children who have come into our respective organizations. That's something that not everyone is able to say, so it's pretty significant. But also legacy in terms of what we leave behind. We are only on this earth for a relatively short period of time. And the question that really begins to define us is what impact did we have, or what impact did we or will we leave with those who will come in future generations. One area of legacy, when I came to Hickory, I'm not a product of this community, but I am an implant, and I've been living here for quite some time.
We're glad you're here.
One of the things that has been very important was to be able to expand the footprint of our Divine Nine. Since I've been here, that has happened. Excuse me, with a number of the organizations, but namely that Kappa Alpha Psi was able to establish a chapter here in 2013. So I was one of the charter members of that chapter. So anytime you look in the history of an organization like my esteemed fraternity, and those people who are on the charter line, or those people who are a part of the charter group, are oftentimes heralded, similar to the way that our 10 founders were heralded on January the 5th, 1911 at Indiana University. So that's something that I think is important. And again, to go back to that word legacy, how did I overcome? I overcame through the prayers of the people who were around me. Growing up in Statesville, I had a lot of hands on me. I had not only with my immediate family, my mother and father, both grandparents who were married in excess of 60 years before my grandfathers passed away. I'm privileged to be able to have both of my grandmothers still living. One of them is 102. The other one just turned 93 a few days ago. And so I celebrate that. But something that I think is common to our community is that there are people around you who will not let you fail. Failure was not an option. I think both Felicia and I came up in families and with the expectation that college was never a question. Going on to get a higher education, and that being the main road to prosperity and the main road to success, and being surrounded by a faithful group of people who oftentimes prayed for us. There's a song in the African American church that says, somebody prayed for me, had me on their mind, took the time to pray for me. So I know I had a lot of people who have prayed for me, and now that I have crossed the threshold, I just turned 53 a few days ago myself, a little bit of time to sit back and to reflect and to look back. And a lot of those people who imparted into me, who invested in me, are no longer with us on this side, but I'm now able to see the things that they did, that it's now my responsibility to help not only pray, but to also encourage others in their journey.
Yeah, that's amazing. So You said failure is not an option, which kind of leads me into the next question. Uh, how do you how do you create an environment that is conducive for success for you and for those around you?
So to answer this question, the key word for me is intentionality. Some people fall into opportunities, and I do know and I recognize that there are times in life when you are not expecting for something to happen, a job opening, an opportunity within education, an opportunity within housing, whatever it might be that you were not necessarily seeking out, and the opportunity presented itself, and you made the best of the opportunity that was presented. But I think when it comes to leadership, I think that we have to have an intentionality about it. It's not just something that necessarily is going to organically happen. We have to position ourselves into a place and a space where, first of all, if you don't have those who are around you who look up to you, at least in a way of feeling as though you have something to offer, it's hard to lead no one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be in a position to have people who do look up to you, people who may aspire to accomplish some of the things that you have accomplished, people who maybe look at you as a subject matter expert in a particular area. As a pastor, that opportunity is just automatically afforded to me because of the number of lives that I touch, on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And so I look back and I see some of the children, and again, having crossed that 50 threshold, and now I look back and some of the children that I had an impact on, now they are starting to get married. They're coming out of college. They're starting to have children. And even with my own children, who are 26 and will soon be 24 respectively, I see them and their accomplishments. So I think there has to be an intentionality about it, that you have to position yourself in the right places, in the right spaces to be able to be effective, and not just wait for opportunities to come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, we're not waiting around for opportunities. We're trying to make sure that we can help others. Miss Felicia, who is someone who has helped you grow in your leadership or helped you get to where you are today?
Okay. So before I answer that, I want to expound on what Marcus said, because it's very important when we look at leadership. Um, it has to be impactful. It has to be intentional and impactful. And so when I think about leadership, what I think about, the first word that comes to me is opportunity, and providing opportunity for others, making sure that I provide a table for others to come to, and I invite them to that table. Um, when I look at what I do in the community, when I look at what I do at work, one of the things I strive for is to ensure that people understand that leadership is not being a boss. To be a boss, that's, to me, that's a four-letter word. To be a boss, we're looking for true leadership. True leaders make space for other people. True leaders ensure that professional development and personal development is happening. True leaders allow other people to lead the way that they do and be okay with that. True leaders allow you to throw things against the wall to see if it fits, and if it works, and if it doesn't, we go back to the table. But a true leader doesn't squash that genius that you have. A true leader steps up and says, okay, this is what we're going to do. Marcus was saying you can't lead nobody. You can't be a leader and walking down the street and there's nobody following you. Why? Because you're only taking a trip. You're only taking a walk. You're not leading. Exactly. So we have to look at what true leadership is and what it is not. I think we get that misconstrued sometimes, because people think, oh, if I'm a leader, I'm a manager. No, you're not. A leader leads people. A manager manages processes. So we have to be clear with those kind of things. When you talk about people who provided opportunities for me, I will start at the beginning. My parents. My parents were very influential in ensuring that I had confidence, because in order for you to be a leader, you have to have confidence. You have to know that you know that you know. Okay. And so if you don't know who you are, you will take suggestions. And I say, don't take suggestions. So know who you are, step into that. And I've been leading since I was born, because that was the expectation for me. People lead, they live up or down to your expectation. So if you expect great things are going to happen. If you don't, they're not. So for me, it would be my parents, and in different sectors of my life, I've had different people to lead. So I can't, other than my parents starting it, I can't really say who's actually led me to a certain place. But I will say there's always been champions in my life. I've always had a board of directors of my friends who will check me at any time to
Good
say
friends.
something's not right. They're good friends.
Yeah.
These have been people that I've been with since kindergarten who will check me. And so those are my board of directors. My people at my church. I'm unlike Marcus, I'm not the pastor, but I am the choir director. So, so I've had, and that is the church of my birth. That is the church of my family. That is the oldest Black church in Hickory. And so, Mount Pisgah African Methodist Episcopal Church. And so, I've had people in that church who've led. So for me, the people have set the example for me, but they've also pushed me. They prayed for me, as Marcus said, but they've pushed me into spaces that sometimes were uncomfortable, but you can't grow in comfort. You have to be uncomfortable to grow. And so they've pushed me there, and they've said, you can. And it's very important that we do that, especially with our children. Tell them that they can. Now, sometimes they're not gonna,
Right.
and that's okay. But tell them that they can.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, those are the people who provided opportunities for me. And because of that, I understand what impactful leadership looks like. And I provide opportunities for others as well.
That's so good. That is so good. Wow. Just a wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much for that answer.
You got the tag team right here.
Okay. One more question before we go. What's one non-negotiable quality that you have for yourself?
For me, I have to be authentically me every day, all day. Why? Because I don't have time to try to remember who I was the last time you saw me. I don't have that kind of time. Unlike Marcus, I'm not 53. I'm a little north of that. You can't tell, I know. But for me, it's just authentically showing up as Felicia. One thing that I did with the Department of Commerce, and I know DEI now is a buzzword, but I helped to start the DEI push in the Department of Commerce for the state of North Carolina. I developed that program. And one thing I wanted people to understand what true DEI is and what it looks like. It is simply providing an opportunity where everyone feels safe, psychological safety, so that you feel safe in the space where you are. That's all it is. It's not all this craziness that people are talking about. It's not all of the quotas and things like that. It's nothing like that. It's providing a space so that when you show up, Brandon, you feel comfortable in the space where you are. For me, the non-negotiable is that if I cannot be truly who I am, there's going to be a problem for me. Because I'm going to have to tell you that this is not a space that I can operate in, and then we're going to have to change this space.
I like that.
We're going to have to change it. So that's the non-negotiable for me.
I love it. What about you?
Got my wheels turning. Staying with my same format of using a single word to at least initiate the response. Accountability, I think, is a non-negotiable for me. It's extremely important that I think that people do what they say that they're going to do.
Yes.
You can't always live up to everybody's expectations, because some people's expectations is going to be much lower than your threshold, because they don't expect much from you or out of you. And other people's is going to be so sky high that, you could live 1,000 years and never be able to meet all of the deliverables that they expect and that they want. But having that accountability, and for me, it really starts to tie in with something that Felicia said. I think about the opportunity that was provided for me. When I was coming out of high school in 1990, in December of that year, when most students had already, made early admission applications to schools, I was still kind of sitting there because I knew I was going somewhere, but I didn't know exactly where I was going. My parents had taken me on several different trips and visits to look at schools. I went to a number of HBCUs. And at the time, that model didn't fit for me for what I expected to be my area of study, although it ended up changing with the call into ministry, which is a whole nother conversation. But there was someone who came from UNC Charlotte, knew about my situation, came and sat down in my parents' living room and said to my parents, send them to me. Wow. Dr. Herman Thomas made that declaration, and UNC Charlotte was the only school that I ended up applying to. Ended up being admitted, ended up going as an early applicant into a program called UTOP, University Transition Opportunities Program. What they did at that particular point in time was to bring minority students in second summer session to give us a leg up and a head start in terms of opportunity, because at that point in time, there was a tremendous push coming out of the 70s and 80s with affirmative action, trying to give equal opportunity. Okay. But what they found out was a lot of African American students were coming into state institutions, and after 1 or 2 semesters, we were flunking out. Okay. And so this was a program that was designed to give us strategic skills when it came to time management, to mandatory study hall. They even required us to go to church on Sunday. And so looking at, the whole accountability factor, I see that it is now my responsibility to kind of pay it forward. Exactly. Where opportunities to be provided. It's not about quotas. It's not about some of the buzzwords that are out there, but it's just about understanding that people be given equal opportunity. And when you give people equal opportunity, now you push them out of the nest and let them either succeed on their own terms or fail on their own terms. Mm-hmm. And so I think that for me, having that accountability, doing what I say I'm going to do, I'm thankful that Dr. Thomas did what he said he was going to do. Took a little longer than probably expected, because after pledging the fraternity, it took me a little longer to get through undergrad. But I did finish, and I'm thankful to him for setting that example and being accountable to my parents for what he said he was going to do for me.
That's so amazing. Thank you guys so much for this conversation. Is there anything else before we go? We've got just a minute before we have to go kick off Juneteenth.
The only thing I want to say is thank you, Marcus, for that, because one of the organizations that I belong to, the class of 1980, we have a foundation. We have a 501(c)(3) foundation, and what we do is we support children as they go to college. We provide scholarships. And these are my classmates that we graduated from Hickory High in 1980, and we formulated a foundation for just that reason, to support students. We provide scholarships, and we provide support to them while they're in college. And so that makes a big difference when you have to make a decision like Marcus made, and they came and they helped him, but we also provide that ongoing support as well. For Carolina, it was called the Bridge Program. And Project Uplift and things like that. So we've got to make sure that our young people are exposed to these things. We need to tell their parents too. We need to make sure that their parents are exposed. But let me also say this. We need to make sure that they understand that it's a whole lot of money in the trades as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you. If you've had an HVAC person at your house lately, they make more than all of us. So we want to make sure that people also know that those trades are available, and make sure those young people are exposed. It's all about exposure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. One of the things I like to say when I'm not speaking is that, successful people want to see other people succeed.
Yes.
And we're here, none of us got here alone.
No.
And so we're always willing to do that for somebody else. So thank you both.
If I can give one last shameless plug, since she went there.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I think is extremely important, like I said, is not only providing the encouragement, but also providing the resources. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'm proud about with our fraternity, specifically with the Hickory Alumni Chapter, is that within this community, Hickory Alumni Chapter, since being founded in 2013, has provided over $18,000 worth of scholarships to young men to be able to go to college. We think it's important that we put our money where our mouth is. We can say all these things about, we want to encourage young people, but, we want to actually be able to put the resources in behind that, because, we know what an education cost at the time we came through. And mm-hmm. with my 2 children looking at it, had it not been for scholarships and other opportunities that were provided, there would have been a second, third mortgage or whatever on the house in order to be able to afford to put them through school. And so that's something that I think is extremely important. We have a scholarship program called Military Botillion, the Militaire Botillion, that we have done in the past, where when we raise the funds, the young men who are part of that program, they raise the funds through the name of Kappa Alpha Psi, but then all of the monies are turned back over to them, to their respective institutions. And we also have someone that Felicia is very familiar with, a brother by the name of P.D. Dewan King, who is no longer with us, that we now have an annual scholarship golf tournament in his name. So it's extremely important for us to carry out our creed of our respective organization in terms of being a resource, not only just for the encouragement piece and the directive piece in terms of leadership, but also providing the financial resources for them to be able to accomplish.
Let me say this before you sign off. You try to show me up. Alpha Kappa Alpha also provides scholarships for our students here. We have an annual Pink Ice Ball that we have every February.
Shout out.
Tickets are always on sale for you to help us with that. But what we do is we've been doing that for the past 30 years, providing scholarships for people. And, that's what we're about. We're about service to all mankind. We're about sisterhood. And we're about taking care of our community, making sure that our communities are strong. And in order to do that, we have to ensure that the base of that community is strengthened, and that's those children and those families. So that is what we do. We've always given big scholarships away. And Marcus knows that. That's why he brought it up for me. I appreciate that.
Segue, my dear.
Segue.
Awesome.
Thank you, Brandon.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much for your time. Hey, listeners, again, the Streetscape celebration is going to be July 10th at 5:15 in downtown Newton. Make sure you're there. We're going to have free hot dogs. We're going to have ribbon cutting to reopen downtown. And we're just going to have a good time. So make sure you come out. It's going to be at 5:15. Should be over around 6 o'clock when the concert starts. So another Music on Main. Thanks again. And we will see you again in 2 weeks.